Elon Musk left a $20,000 tip for a waitress struggling to rebuild her life after a devastating accident. But what she did with that money was not just surprising. It completely turned her life around and inspired a movement that even Elon did not see coming. The little diner on the corner of the street had seen better days. Its faded sign flickered occasionally, and the chipped linoleum floor bore the marks of countless hurried steps. But for Lauren, this place was her sanctuary, her lifeline. Every evening, she tied her apron, put on her best smile, and prepared to serve the steady stream of customers who came through the door. Lauren was no stranger to hard work. At 30, she had already faced more challenges than most people do in a lifetime. 3 years ago, a road accident had changed everything. The crash had taken her legs with mounting medical bills and sleepless nights. But if there was one thing Lauren prided herself on, it was her resilience. She'd learned how to walk again with a prosthetic limb, how to manage her pain, and, most importantly, how to keep moving forward. Still, some days were harder than others. Tonight felt like one of those nights. The air was heavy with humidity, and Lauren's prosthetic rubbed uncomfortably against her skin. She pushed through, her ever-present smile hiding the fatigue she carried. Her customers did not need to see that. They came here for warm meals and a welcoming atmosphere, not for the struggles of their waitress. The dinner rush was just winding down when the bell above the door jingled softly. Lauren glanced up from behind the counter and saw a man walk in. He looked ordinary enough. Average height, slightly tousled hair, dressed in a plain t-shirt. He carried an air of quiet confidence but did not stand out in the way some customers did. If anything, he seemed to prefer blending in. "Welcome," Lauren greeted him, her voice bright despite her tiredness. "Can I get you something to drink while you look over the menu?" The man offered a faint smile, his eyes kind. "Just black coffee for now." Lauren nodded and prepared his drink, noting how he seemed to take in the diner's details. The cracked counter, the old jukebox in the corner, the handwritten specials board. Most people barely noticed these things, but this man seemed different. He was not in a rush like so many others. He sat in the corner booth, his hands folded neatly on the table, and watched the world around him as though it held secrets worth uncovering. As Lauren brought him his coffee, he looked up at her. "How long have you worked here?" he asked, his tone conversational but genuinely curious. "About 2 years," Lauren replied. "It's not the most glamorous job, but it keeps the lights on." The man nodded thoughtfully. "Do you like it?" Lauren paused, considering her answer. She didn't want to complain, but she also didn't want to lie. "I like the people," she said finally. "I've met some amazing customers here. It's not easy, but it's honest work." The man studied her for a moment, his expression unreadable. "What would you do if you could do anything?" he asked, his voice low but steady. Lauren blinked, caught off guard by the question. Most customers didn't ask about her dreams. They barely asked about her day. But there was something about this man that made her feel safe, like she could tell him the truth. "I'd open a cafe," she admitted, a hint of longing in her voice. "Something small and cozy, where people could feel at home. I've loved this." The man's lips curved into a soft smile. "That's a beautiful dream." Before Lauren could respond, another table called for her attention. She excused herself, her heart lighter from sharing her secret. As she walked away, she didn't notice the thoughtful look the man gave her, as though he was already planning something extraordinary. The rest of the night passed uneventfully. Lauren cleared plates, refilled drinks, and exchanged pleasantries with her regulars. But her thoughts kept drifting back to the man in the corner. Booth? Who was he? And why did his simple questions linger in her mind? It wasn't until he waved her over to settle his bill that Lauren realized her night was about to take a turn she could never have predicted. As the clock edged closer to closing time, Lauren made her way back to the corner booth. The man looked up at her, his gaze calm but piercing. She couldn't shake the feeling that he saw more than most people did, like he was reading beyond her polite smile to the thoughts she kept hidden. "Ready to settle up?" Lauren asked, keeping her tone cheerful as she handed him the check. Sure, he said, pulling out his wallet. He scribbled something on the receipt, slid his card into the check presenter, and handed it back to her. Thank you for your kindness tonight. It's been a pleasure. Lauren smiled politely, though the words caught her off guard. Kindness? She hadn't done anything extraordinary, just her job, like she did every night. She took the receipt to the register and ran his card, glancing briefly at the tip line out of habit. Her heart nearly stopped. Scrawled across the receipt was a number so large she thought she must be imagining it. $20,000. Her breath caught in her throat as her eyes darted to the note beneath it. For your cafe, do not give up on your dream. Elon Musk. Lauren stared at the receipt, her mind racing. It had to be a joke, a mistake. Maybe an extra zero accidentally added? But no, the handwriting was clear, deliberate. Her fingers trembled as she turned to look at the corner booth, but the man was gone. He had slipped out quietly while she was at the register. Elon Musk? She whispered to herself. The name was impossible to miss. Everyone knew who Elon Musk was, the billionaire and countless other ventures. But the man who had sat in her diner tonight had not looked like the larger-than-life figure she had seen in the news. He had been ordinary, friendly even. Lauren, you okay? One of her coworkers asked, breaking her trance. She held up the receipt with shaky hands. Look at this. Her coworker's jaw dropped. Is that real? I don't know, Lauren admitted, her voice trembling. But it looks real. The two of them stared at the receipt as if it were a magical artifact. The diner buzzed with whispers as word spread among the staff. Some joked that it had to be a prank, while others speculated about why Elon Musk, if it really was him, would choose to tip so generously. But Lauren could not focus on their chatter. Her mind was spinning. The possibilities hit her like a wave. $20,000. She could finally start working on her cafe, buy necessary things, rent a small space, maybe even take a business class to learn the ropes. It was the break she had been praying for, a chance to turn her dream into reality. But with the excitement came doubt. Why her? She was not special, just a waitress trying to get by. What had he seen in her that made him think she deserved this? The question swirled in her mind, mingling with a growing sense of disbelief. She pulled out her phone and typed his name into a search bar. Dozens of images and articles popped up, confirming what she already knew. It was him. The quiet man in the corner booth was one of the wealthiest and most influential people in the world. Her hands shook as she locked her phone and tucked it into her pocket. The receipt still felt unreal in her grasp, like it might vanish if she let go of it. Lauren stayed late that night, her coworkers chattering excitedly around her. But she barely spoke, lost in her thoughts. What should she do with the money? Should she even keep it? The possibilities were overwhelming, and she knew one thing for certain. Her life would never be the same. As she locked up the diner and walked out into the cool night air, she felt the weight of the decision pressing on her. Her prosthetic clicked softly against the pavement as she made her way home, her mind replaying the moment she'd first seen that unbelievable number. Lauren didn't know it yet, but her choice wouldn't just affect her own future. It would ripple out in ways she could never have imagined, reaching far beyond the walls of her dream cafe. Lauren's small apartment was quiet when she got home. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound as she set her bag on the counter and sank into the worn-out couch. The receipt still sat in her pocket, folded carefully as if it might shatter under too much pressure. She pulled it out, her eyes scanning the handwriting one more time. For your cafe, don't give up on your dream. Elon Musk. The words felt heavy, as though they carried more than just money. They carried hope, expectation, and a responsibility she hadn't asked for but now couldn't ignore. For hours, she sat there, going over the possibilities in her mind. The money was enough to start her cafe. She could finally turn the recipes she'd spent years perfecting into something real, something she could share with the world. But alongside her dreams came the faces of the people she had met at the local charity. Lauren volunteered there every Sunday, helping others with disabilities. She had seen parents struggle to afford therapy for their children, veterans navigating life with prosthetics, and seniors grappling with new physical limitations. Lauren herself had relied on the charity's resources when she was adjusting to her prosthetic. Without their support, she wasn't sure she would have made it through those dark, early days. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through photos from the charity. There was the young boy who had just learned to walk with his new leg, the elderly woman who always brought cookies to the volunteers, the staff who worked tirelessly despite limited funding. The thought of what $20,000 could do for them filled her chest with both excitement and a pang of guilt. How could she spend the money on herself when she knew how much good it could do for others? But then she looked at the empty corner of her apartment where she had once imagined setting up a small baking station. It was a dream that had carried her through so many tough days. If she gave up on it now, would she regret it forever? The night stretched on, and Lauren wrestled with her thoughts. By the time the sun began to peek through the blinds, she had made her decision. The next day, Lauren walked into the charity's office. It was a modest space, with mismatched furniture and walls covered in photos of smiling faces. Miss Jordan, the director of the charity, greeted her warmly. "Lauren, what brings you by on a weekday?" Jordan asked, her brow furrowing slightly when she noticed the nervous energy radiating off her. I have something I want to do," Lauren said, clutching her bag tightly. She pulled out the receipt and handed it to Jordan, her hands trembling. "I want to donate this." Jordan stared at the receipt, her eyes widening as she read the amount. "Lauren, are you sure about this? This is a huge sum of money." Lauren nodded, though her voice wavered as she spoke. "I've thought about it all night. This place has done so much for me, for so many people. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't even be able to work the way I do now. I want this money to go where it's needed most." Jordan's eyes filled with tears. "I don't even know what to say. This is going to change lives." The two women hugged, and for the first time since receiving the tip, Lauren felt a sense of peace. She knew she was giving up her dream, at least for now, but the thought of helping others gave her a deeper satisfaction than she had expected. Jordan assured her that the money would go toward buying state-of-the-art treatment equipment, funding new programs, and expanding their services to reach more people in need. Word of Lauren's generosity spread quickly. The charity shared her story on social media, and local news outlets picked it up. Headlines read, "Waitress donates $20,000 tip from Elon Musk to charity." Lauren's phone buzzed nonstop with messages from friends, co-workers, and even strangers who were moved by her decision. Some praised her selflessness, while others questioned why she hadn't used the money to better her own life. But Lauren ignored the noise. She knew she had done what felt right. Still, she couldn't shake the thought that Elon Musk deserved to know where his money had gone. After all, he had intended it to help her achieve her dream, and she had chosen to use it differently. She sat down that evening and wrote him a letter. "Dear Mr. Musk, I don't know if you'll remember me. I was the waitress at the diner who served you the other night. When I saw the tip you left, I was overwhelmed. It's not every day that someone like me receives such a life-changing gift. For that, I will always be grateful. I thought long and hard about what to do with the money. I know you intended it to help me open my cafe, and I can't tell you how much that meant to me. But I decided to use the money to support a local charity that helps people with disabilities. This organization has been a lifeline for me and so many others, and I felt that the best way to honor your generosity was to pay it forward. Thank you for believing in me, even if only for a moment. Your kindness has inspired me to be better, to do better, and to dream bigger." Sincerely, Lauren mailed the letter, not expecting a reply. But she underestimated the man who had tipped her $20,000. What came next would change her life all over again. A week passed, and life at the diner went on as usual. Lauren returned to her routine of greeting customers, serving coffee, and balancing trays. The buzz surrounding her donation had mostly died down, though she still received the occasional smile or kind word from people who had heard her story. She didn't expect anything more to come of it. The donation had been her way of closing the chapter, of doing something meaningful with the gift she'd been given. But one quiet afternoon, as Lauren was wiping down the counter, her phone buzzed with an incoming call. She glanced at the screen. The number was unknown, but something compelled her to answer. "Hello?" she said, her voice cautious. "Hello, is this Lauren?" A man's voice asked, calm and steady. "Yes, this is Lauren. May I ask who's calling?" "This is Elon Musk." Lauren soaked, the dish rag slipping from her hand. Her mind raced. Was this a prank? Someone messing with her because of the news story? But the voice on the other end was unmistakably familiar, and there was no mistaking the slight South African accent. "Elon Musk?" she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's right," he said with a soft chuckle. "I got your letter. It's not every day someone surprises me, but you managed to do it." Lauren felt her knees weaken as she leaned against the counter for support. I didn't think you'd actually read it. I just wanted to say thank you." "It was my pleasure," he replied. "But I have to say, what you did with the money, it blew me away. Most people would have taken the tip and used it for themselves, which would have been completely fair. But you gave it all away. That's rare." Tears welled in Lauren's eyes. "I just thought it could do better for the charity than it could. For me." "And that's what makes you remarkable," Elon said. "You didn't just take the gift, you multiplied its impact. I want to help you do more of that." Lauren's breath hitched. "What do you mean?" "Would you be willing to meet with me?" he asked. "I have an idea, and I think you're the perfect person to help me with it." Her mind reeled. Meeting Elon Musk? Working with him? It was a dream too surreal to believe, but the sincerity in his voice grounded her. "I'd be honored," she said finally. "Great," Elon replied. "My team will arrange everything. I look forward to meeting you again, Lauren." 2 weeks later, Lauren found herself in Los Angeles, standing in the lobby of a sleek office building. Her hands trembled as she smoothed down her modest blouse. She had never been anywhere so modern, so polished. The receptionist greeted her warmly and directed her to a conference room on the top floor. When she walked in, Elon Musk himself was there to greet her. He looked exactly as she remembered, casual, unassuming, but with an undeniable air of confidence. He shook her hand firmly and gestured for her to take a seat. "Thank you for coming," he said, his tone friendly but direct. "I've been thinking a lot about what you did and how we can build on it." Lauren tilted her head, curiosity blooming. "Build on it?" "Yes," Elon said, leaning forward. "Your story is inspiring, and it got me thinking about the power of generosity. Not just giving money, but empowering people to create change. I want to start a new initiative called Pay It Forward. The idea is to create a network of people who can identify needs in their communities and use our resources to address them." Lauren's eyes widened. "That sounds incredible, but why me?" Elon smiled. "Because you have already proven you can do it. You didn't just talk about helping others. You acted on it, even when it meant giving up your own dream. That kind of selflessness is exactly what this initiative needs." For a moment, Lauren couldn't speak. The world's most influential entrepreneur was asking her to be part of something monumental, something that could change countless lives. "I don't know what to say," she admitted, her voice trembling. "Say yes," Elon said simply, and she did. Over the next few months, Lauren worked closely with Elon's team to shape the Pay It Forward initiative. They identified communities in need, partnered with local organizations, and developed programs to address everything from food insecurity to accessible technology for people with disabilities. Lauren's insight and passion became a cornerstone of the project, and she quickly earned the respect of everyone she worked with. But the biggest surprise came one morning when Elon called her into his office. "I have one more thing for you," he said, handing her a folder. Inside was a business proposal. Her cafe, her dream, was laid out in full detail. Funding, location, equipment, everything she needed to get started. But there was a twist. "We're going to make it a social enterprise," Elon explained. "Your cafe will employ people with disabilities, giving them meaningful work and a supportive community. It's not just a business, it's a way to make a difference." Lauren's hands trembled as she looked at the folder. Tears streamed down her face as she turned to Elon. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already have," he said with a grin. "Now go build your dream." The cafe opened 2 months later, a bustling corner of downtown. Its name, Hope and Honesty Cafe, was a nod to the journey Lauren had taken, from a young woman struggling to rebuild her life after a devastating accident, to a community leader giving others the opportunity to do the same. The grand opening drew a crowd that spilled onto the sidewalks. Local officials, journalists, and friends from the diner all came to celebrate. But the most notable guest was Elon Musk himself, who arrived quietly, as he always did, and stayed at the back of the room, watching the event unfold with a small smile. Lauren stood at the counter, addressing the crowd with a mixture of pride and nervousness. "This cafe is more than just a place to buy coffee, tea, and cookies," she began, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "It's a place for people who, like me, have faced challenges and needed a little help to find their footing. Every person who works here has a story of resilience, and every customer who walks through those doors becomes part of that story." The crowd erupted in applause, but Lauren wasn't finished. She took a deep breath and looked toward Elon. "I wouldn't be here without one act of kindness that changed my life. So this cafe isn't just mine. It belongs to all of us. It's proof that when we give, we create ripples far beyond what we can see." Elon gave her a small nod, his expression one of quiet pride. He knew she meant every word. From day one, Hope and Honesty Cafe became more than just a business. It was a beacon of hope. The employees were a mix of people with disabilities, veterans, and others who had faced barriers to employment. For many of them, it was their first job in years, and the supportive environment allowed them to thrive. What truly set the cafe apart was the warmth that radiated from every corner. Customers felt it as soon as they walked in, from the handwritten notes of encouragement tucked into each coffee to the heartfelt conversations that often broke out between staff and visitors. One customer, a mother of a young boy with cerebral palsy, became a regular after learning about the cafe's mission. She often brought her son, who loved the smell of coffee and the cheerful chatter of the employees. "This place gives me hope," she told Lauren one day. "It shows me what's possible for my son's future." Lauren's heart swelled at comments like these. She had dreamed of a cafe, but she never imagined it could mean so much to so many people. About 6 months after the cafe opened, Elon Musk returned, not as a guest of honor, but as a customer. He walked in unannounced, dressed as casually as he had been the night he tipped her at the diner. He ordered a coffee, then sat at a table near the window, observing the bustling space. Lauren spotted him and made her way over and, "Didn't expect to see you here," she said with a grin. "I wanted to see how things were going," Elon replied, taking coffee and a bite of the cinnamon roll. His eyes lit up. "This is incredible." Lauren laughed. "I'll take that as high praise." They talked for a while, and Elon asked her about the employees, the customers, and the challenges she was facing. Lauren shared everything: the triumphs, the struggles, and the moments that reminded her why she had chosen this path. "I'm proud of you," Elon said finally, his voice sincere. "You've taken something small and turned it into something that's changing lives." "I couldn't have done it without you," Lauren replied, her voice thick with emotion. Elon shook his head. You could have. I just gave you a push. The rest is all you. As word about Hope and Honesty Cafe spread, it inspired others to act. Small business owners reached out to Lauren, asking how they could incorporate similar practices into their own workplaces. Local charities partnered with the cafe to provide job training and mentorship programs. Even customers began paying it forward, often leaving extra money for the next person in line or donating directly to the cafe's community fund. One evening, Lauren sat in the cafe after closing. She was thinking about old Journey. She thought about how far she had come, from a struggling waitress to the owner of a cafe that had become a symbol of hope. She thought about the people who worked for her, the customers who supported her, and the man who had seen her potential when she couldn't see it herself. She pulled out her phone and sent Elon a text. "Thank you for believing in me. I'll never forget what you did." His reply came almost instantly. "Keep making the world a better place. That's thanks enough." Years later, Lauren's cafe was thriving, and she had opened 2 more locations in nearby towns. Each one followed the same model, providing opportunities for people with disabilities and giving back to the community. The Pay It Forward initiative had also grown, with similar projects springing up across the country. Lauren often thought about the night that started it all. The quiet man in the corner booth who had seen something in her she hadn't even seen in herself. She had learned that generosity wasn't just about giving money. It was about seeing people, believing in them, and giving them the tools to change their lives. And as she stood in her cafe watching her team laugh and work together, Lauren knew one thing for certain. What she had built was more than a business. It was a testament to the power of kindness, and it all started with one extraordinary tip that had changed everything. What do you think about Lauren's journey? Stories like this remind us that small acts of kindness can spark incredible transformations. We should do whatever we can to help others. There should be givers rather than takers. We would love to hear your thoughts. Share your perspective in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel.